All right. People starting to join in. Welcome, Chad. Great name. Strong name. Welcome,
Yes.
David. Welcome, Julia. Leonard. I have to shout it. It's all in caps. Mark. Welcome. It's Wednesday morning, early morning for some. Um,
Mhm.
Thank you for making it if it is early and if you're in Mountain or
Yeah.
Pacific time. For some reason, we're very early today, but welcome. Where in the world are you, Elizabeth?
I'm in Central Florida. So it's not, well, it depends on who you ask. For me, this isn't too early. I've already had one call tonight. So
Yeah,
it's about
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. is all good. And where is everyone else calling in from, dialing in from? Feel free to type in the chat. Wherever you're from, Paolo. Oh, Tampa, right around the corner from
No,
you.
it's not too far.
Quentin, Nat, Mark. Yeah, nice to see everyone. We've got a lot of attendees already, so really good to see all of you. Today, let's get into it, since we will start on time, roughly. Um, we are joined by none other than Eizabeth from Junglr, a great partner of Seller Candies, and she said she had some amazing stuff to share. So I thought that we could put this on, and it's really great to see so many people here live. And if you're not live and you're watching the replay, hello out there as well. Hey, Paolo, good to see you. So I'm going to be here in the background. I will pop up and ask obnoxious questions if needed. If you have any questions throughout, feel free to write them in the chat or in the Q&A. I will pop up if they make sense and feed them to Eizabeth so that she can focus on her
Oh, perfect.
presentation. And yeah, and we'll hand over to you.
Awesome. Well, I am looking forward to this because this is a topic that I get asked a lot. Product launch strategy. By the way, this launch strategy can work for an existing product, or it typically is going to be more geared around if you have a new product that you're wanting to get seen and sold on the Amazon platform. This is a strategy that we began sort of crafting and diving into more towards the mid to end of 2024. Definitely got refined in the beginning of this year, and it is the launch strategy that we use with all of our clients and brands. And so I am excited to share peek behind the scenes because again, this is the exact strategy that we are using, and I have shared this with some very specific select people, and they're getting results as well. So I'm again really stoked to dive into this with you because really this strategy is focused on driving the right signals to the Amazon rank algorithm. You can go down the rabbit hole, you can read all of the white papers, which we have done. Everybody wants to dissect it, dive into it, try and extract every bit of learning that they possibly can, which is great. If you do that, you basically walk away with these things is it's all about relevancy and driving a lot of conversions. And so that is what this strategy is designed to do. So this is what we're going to be going over and covering. We're going to go through keyword research. There's a lot of good information out there. And then we're also going to go into campaign setup. This is my problem with most launch strategies that I've seen. And trust me, I've been down the rabbit hole on YouTube. This is going to give you an A to Z. Most launch strategies will tell you how to do keyword research. They'll tell you how to set up the campaigns and they will drop you like a hot potato and you'll be left 2 days into your launch going, what the heck do I do next? I'm not going to leave you stranded. I'm going to give it to you specifically. You're going to get our exact optimization strategy that we use for new campaigns. And on top of that, I'm going to talk about when and how to go next into the scaling phase because everyone is kind of like, okay, I have my launch campaigns. I'm confused. Like, when do I launch additional campaigns? How do I know it's working? Like, trust me, I got you start to finish in launch is what we're going to cover. So the stage one is going to be keyword research. You want to go through, these is what we're going to talk about. We're going to go through identifying your anchor keyword. This is a methodology that we developed about 6 years ago, and it hasn't changed because it's rock solid and good. Then you're going to go to classic. We're going to talk about reverse async competitor search, and then we're going to talk about choosing ranking. Like, how many keywords do you choose? That is a very common question. So I'm going to cover it very black and white. All right. Step one is going to be identifying what we call your anchor keyword. Your anchor keyword is the intersection between volume and relevancy. That's that word again, relevancy. So what we find is that the more specific and long tail search, the less shoppers are typically typing it into search. But the more specific the keyword is, the more likely the shopper is searching for your exact product. So like our goal with this anchor keyword is to find the intersection between volume and relevancy. And then all of the products that we're choosing, the keywords that we're choosing off of them are going to stem from this anchor keyword. This is where a lot of people will get it wrong. They'll say like, oh, just go find 10 competitors and like, do you know if you're finding the right competitors? Do you know if they're highly specific to your product? Do you know if they're doing really well and they're very like relevant to you? That's what your anchor keyword is going to show you. So to find an anchor keyword, this is simply the highest search volume, most relevant keyword. And these screenshots I have here are from Jungle Scout. You can use Helium 10 or any other keyword research tool out there that allows you to do this. So step one is you enter a seed keyword into a research tool. Has to be something that you logically think is kind of specific to your product. You don't have to get this one right. It's just a seed keyword. Then what you're going to do is you're going to sort by search volume and you're going to work your way down the list manually to evaluate for relevancy. So here's how you evaluate relevancy. You go to Amazon.com or whatever marketplace you're in, and you search with that specific keyword, and then you see what shows up. So here you can see the lower relevancy is things like blanket. If you look at if this is our product, blanket is okay. Wait, these are more adult blankets. Even baby blanket. Look at this. There's personalized blankets, there's plush blankets, there's technically the product right there, which you can see I got lazy. I just said our product is one of the ones I just grabbed from page one. But then you can see other things like swaddles for newborn. Again, we might think there's relevancy, but go and search it on Amazon, and what you'll find is that yes, the product could rank here, but it's a lot of these like Velcro swaddles. So swaddles for a newborn isn't super relevant. What is relevant is muslin swaddle blankets. Still, there's a lot of search volume, 54,000, a lot of search volume. So we're still looking at where does it start to get very specific to our product, but then still is at the top of the list, which is why we're sorting for relevancy. This is our seed keyword. And I will let you know, doing this process right here, highly, highly, highly recommend if you are going through and doing product research. Actually, this methodology in finding a seed keyword will actually, or your anchor keyword is actually going to show you the search and the various ways in which shoppers search for products that you might think is relevant. So a lot of sellers who are a little bit green will go into new products and they'll say like, okay, I'm pretty sure that, like, oh, great, there's like so much search on baby blankets or baby shower gifts, and they're not looking at that relevancy factor. You want to understand like sort of the playing field of your keywords. This is something that we'll do sometimes as a favor to some of our clients. If they're like thinking about launching a product, we'll go through and do this research and be like, hey, this is kind of the playing field. This is what we're seeing in the market, and here's kind of how your products can be seen and sold. But I digress. Once you've done this, you have your seed keyword. Now you're going to use that. Sorry, I keep saying seed keyword, anchor keyword. You're going to use your anchor keyword to find the top competitors. So you're going to go and you're going to search on your anchor keyword. You're going to choose the top 10 like ranking products with good sales volume. Do check for that. And then common, you're going to reverse ASIN search those 10 products in a keyword research tool. Once you pop that out, again, you do want to identify relevant products, but then you're also looking for sales volume as well, because it's very possible that, say, one of these is like a sponsored ad. You want to ignore those. You can see, like, first off, it's not really relevant. Second, there's not a lot of units. You do want to evaluate for volume. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to select our keywords. So you're going to download the tool. Now in Helium 10 or Jungle Scout, there is this like organic rank count, or there is, kind of relevancy scores built in, which is helpful. Basically, you want to say how many of these products are ranked on this specific keyword. So out of the 10, how many are ranked? And you can filter just for the most of those relevant products ranked on the keyword. That will help you condense the list and get to more of the specific keywords. And from here, we're going to choose 10 keywords that are highly relevant that have at least 1 to 2,000 search volume. Again, going back to identifying the anchor keyword, if you are doing product research and you're trying to find an anchor keyword and you can't find any real amount of keywords that have at least a couple thousand search volume on there, and like all of the keywords that you're finding are like 300 search volume, 500 search volume, that's a really good clue that there's just not a lot of search traffic in your market. So even if there's one top competitor who's absolutely crushing it, most people probably just know about the brand. They are not really aware of the problem that your product provide or that solves. Because on Amazon, all we're doing is we're capturing existing demand. It is notoriously difficult to create and generate demand through Amazon advertising, near impossible. So all we're doing is saying like, where's the existing demand? Where what searches can we use to harness it? So we have found that choosing about 10 keywords, again, everyone wants to know how many keywords you choose for ranking. Trust me, we have a whole methodology and process for optimizing and identifying of these 10 keywords. We found 10 to be a good sweet spot. If you find 12, no hard feelings. If you find 15, no hard feelings. If you can only find 8, that's totally fine. Use this as basically a barometer, but you do have to spend on these keywords to work on identifying one, if they work, and then two, to go after ranking for them. So what we have found is that if you choose more keywords, you need more budget. If you have less keywords, you need less budget. So that is keyword research. How do you set up the campaign? So let's go through the campaign setup. So the campaign setup, I'm going to talk about campaign naming. Organization is honestly very helpful. Will help you identify a lot. We're going to talk about product variations. Everyone wants to know, oh my gosh, if I have, I'm launching in clothing and I have 10 different, I have all the different sizes plus the different colors, like how do I set up those campaigns? We'll go through that. And then we'll talk about structuring the campaign. We do single keyword campaigns here. And then what are my initial bids? What's my initial budget? Everybody wants to know. I'm going to tell you. All right. First off, campaign naming. A solid naming structure provides a quick and clear understanding of campaign strategy goals. So this is how we do it. Again, we've refined this over quite a few years. I think it's probably one of the most solid campaign naming structures out there. We use something like a product identifier. So that's just like, what is this product? You can use an ASIN, you can use a SKU. We like to use what ad type and what match type we're using, what strategy are we running, where did we find these keywords, what is the bidding strategy, what is the launch date, and then for us, we also add a company identifier on the end so we know like we were the ones who launched it versus an existing legacy campaign. So from here, you can see something like if we just put blanket and then we had the ACE in here, SPE is our nomenclature for sponsored product exact match. SKC rank for us, the strategy is single keyword ranking. H10, so we found these keywords in Helium 10. The keyword is baby blanket. FB stands for fixed bids. This is on launch date, and we were the one who launched it. I know the entire strategy, what is contained in this, what I'm trying to do just by reading this campaign name. And that's basically what you want your campaign names to tell you is what is the strategy? So I know how to know if it's working and how to optimize it. And so you could just like steal this one. And then I would do, so SPE, I know this is a single keyword ranking campaign. I know what keyword I'm going after. I know how I identified the keyword. I know that's a sponsored product exact match. I know I'm using fixed bids. All right. Now let's talk about handling product variations. Here is your strategy. If it is a single ASIN listing, congratulations, your life is super simple. Just simply use that ASIN in your campaigns. For variation listings, it can get more complicated. So there's two scenarios. One, if no performance data exists. Brand new product, you have no idea which one is going to convert better, which one's going to convert worse, then I would include all of the child ASINs in that campaign and that ad group because we are going to be launching single campaign, single ad group campaigns. Again, no data to go off of. Pros and cons to launching each one for each individual ASIN. In my personal opinion, this is the best way to do it. We manage some very large clothing brands and we've had to refine our variation strategy over the years. However, if you do have performance data that does exist, so you do know which ones perform best, which ones don't really convert very well, you can use the top performing variations for each of the individual keywords. So again, one child ASIN. If you have constant fluctuations with stock, like some of our clothing brands, black medium, you can never keep in stock. It's ridiculous. So in those cases, we might sometimes choose the top two, maybe even three to put in there. Again, it depends on how many variations we have and the performance difference between those variations. Now, my one exception to the rule is for specific keywords. Example would be like, say, blue swaddle blanket. Here, we're only going to be advertising the relevant variations. So if we have a blue swaddle blanket, we're going to only be advertising the blue swaddle blanket. Hopefully that makes total sense. You'll often find, especially in like the baby category, there's like girl, boy. Yes, I know the current climate. Pink is typically what people are searching for when they're searching for girl products, and blues and greens are typically what they're searching for. And you will find that the conversion rates are much higher on the typically more gender specific colors. It is what it is. And so for that reason, that's kind of how we would break it out. Now, a common question I get is like, hey, doesn't Amazon already do that correlation for me? Like, can I just put them all in there and Amazon knows to put the blue one? Honestly, between you and me, the Amazon algorithm in ranking and serving up products is phenomenal. It absolutely sucks when it comes to very specific color, style, long tail searches. Try and go searching blue button up collared shirt for women. You will find even on page one for some of the ads, like they're not even super specific and relevant to that search. So do the work for the algorithm. Trust me, you will see returns in that in the form of conversions. All right. Now let's create the campaign. So we're going to do a sponsored product campaign where I like naming the ad group the same as the campaign. We already talked about naming structure. We already talked about products that go in here. So you don't have any questions on that. Again, just follow that strategy on if there's variations or not. We're creating a manual targeting campaign. We're choosing keyword targeting. We're doing exact match specific. We're entering our own list. Here, the example I put is baby blanket, and we're only doing one keyword. So if you have 10 keywords you've identified, we're doing 10 separate exact match single keyword campaigns. Here's the suggestion that everybody wants to know. How the heck do I choose a starting bid? All right, we're going to use the suggested bid plus 20 to 50 cents to be competitive. Everyone that I ever talk to who is, especially if you're new in the space, there's this question of like, I need to get my initial starting bid right. That is false. And I'm here to tell you that you're never going to get it right on the first try. That's fine. I have an entire optimization strategy that I'm going to share with you step by step exactly how to do this. This is just getting you to the starting line. This is just what I'm considering a reasonable start. Okay. Don't overthink it. Just use the suggested bid. Use something more aggressive than the suggested bid. Use the top end of the suggested bid. Just put something in there that reasonably would be considered competitive bidding. All right. We're going to choose fixed bidding strategy on these because our goal here is to generate impressions. Again, for our campaign name, we already talked about that. Start date would be whatever day you want to start the campaign. We don't put an end date. And then here's where everyone gets tripped up again, starting budgets. So the budgets to start at, we like to start with $10 or $15 or on the high end enough to generate enough clicks to test. So an example would be here, if we're expecting a 0.75 times 15 clicks, so 75 cents, and we think it's going to take on average 15 clicks to generate an order, then that's going to give us $11.25. So if I put a $15 budget, that's reasonable enough to figure out, I just want to know how can I get a healthy enough budget to know if this keyword converts for my product. Again, we're going to talk about optimization strategy. And here, this is a controversial strategy because there's a lot of people out there like, hey, never let budgets run out. You always need to keep it 110%. I'm here to tell you that that is not true, and you will lose so much money if you do that in the beginning. Again, we have a budget optimization strategy. I'm going to tell you how to scale these campaigns, but I'm just telling you, you want to have trust me, it'll make sense when we get to the optimization part. But that's how you set up the campaigns. Okay, here we are, optimization part. This is where most strategies drop you. They go over the campaign research, they go over how to set up the campaigns, and then they're like, all right, cool, see you later. Don't worry, I got you. I'm going to give you our exact strategy. Now, I'm going to tell you this. This is intense. This is not hard, but it takes time and effort. But if you want the results, you absolutely need to put in the work. And this is how you do it. So we're going to talk about gaining impressions. We're talking about evaluating the funnel, and we're going to talk about adjusting budgets. So our goal with this strategy is we want to gain impressions rapidly. And I have a sort of graph that shows you like what we're looking to do. But basically, we're throwing out lures, we're throwing out 10 lures, and we're saying, okay, out of these 10 keywords, we want to identify which of these convert. So what we're going to do is we have a very specific optimization strategy to push our bids enough to gain impressions, because that's what we're doing in the beginning is we just need impressions. I can't tell you how many times I hear people launch campaigns like, hey, I have my product launch. Yeah, I've like waited like a week or two to see what's going on. Don't wait a week, wait a day. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be checking and adjusting our bids. You can do this twice daily, or you can do this once daily. If you want to do intense with it, if you want to be aggressive, I would do it twice daily, or you could just do it once. So what we're doing is we're looking over the lifetime of these campaigns. Again, here's where ranking, or here's where a good naming structure can be very helpful, because you can simply search and be like, oh, these don't have impressions. Okay, now I need to make some optimizations. So if the impressions are low being less than 1,000 or a couple thousand impressions within the lifetime of the campaign, which is why we want to make sure that we're choosing keywords with more search volume so we can generate enough impressions. Then what we're going to do is we're going to increase our bids by 20 to 50 cents. Or if our current bid is less than the top of the suggested bid range, we're going to increase those bids to the top of the suggested range. And what we're going to do is we have to use aggressive bidding to force Amazon to serve our ads. What we have observed in a shift in the ad algorithm over the last, let's say 2, maybe 3 years, is that it is like pulling freaking teeth to get Amazon to serve you impressions on new campaigns. You have to make up for that with bidding. And if you like increase your bids a little bit, wait a week, increase your bids a little bit, wait a week. Oh my gosh, I'm still not getting impressions. If you wait that long, that is how long your products are not getting found in search, which is a problem. So what this is designed to do, it is a rapid and intense bid optimization, and we are simply pushing our bids up to a place that will allow us to generate impressions. So from here, once we start to get impressions, then we can evaluate the funnel. Okay. So what we're doing is we need to get impressions. Those impressions will lead to clicks, and these clicks lead to orders. Again, we're putting out, all right, if we're choosing 10 keywords, all right, out of these 10 keywords, which one of these is which one of these is leading to orders? I might find 3 out of 10. I might find 5 out of 10. Heck, if my product is fantastic, maybe it's a 10 out of 10. That would be amazing, but it typically is not. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our conversion rates to determine the average clicks needed per order. So once we start to get a couple orders, we can understand what the product conversion rate is. So to calculate your average conversion rate, you're going to take your orders, you're going to divide it by clicks, and then you can then take that number, and your average clicks to convert is 1 divided by your conversion rate. So example, if your conversion rate is 6.7%, you can expect about 15 clicks per order. So here we're starting to get some data, and we can start to make an evaluation. So we're not, again, we're doing aggressive bidding, which is why we have that budget cap, by the way, because if I just jack up bids, and I don't have anything, excuse me, to cap how much like how many times I can get clicks and those spend, you're just going to spend up like crazy. So what we're doing is we have the budget cap so we can be confident in running that aggressive bidding strategy. We're running it till we start to generate impressions. That's my goal, impressions. From there, those impressions start to generate clicks, and ideally those clicks generate orders. And I'm looking at my playing field and saying, okay, out of these 10, which of these are converting. Once I understand what is converting, then I can start pushing those, which we'll talk about budget strategy in a minute. And then we're going to talk about bids. Once you start generating the impressions, by the way, again, a couple thousand impressions, you're getting a large amount of impressions. You don't have to keep increasing your bids because you're already getting the impressions. Our goal is to simply get the product seen in search. To be honest, we're not worried about pushing top of search placement. I just want to know, are the products getting seen? Do I have enough impressions to evaluate? That's all I want to know. So from here, we're either on the non-converting ones. So again, that have enough impressions and have enough clicks. I'm reducing my bids. And then, or you can pause the keywords as well. So again,
Elizabeth, we have one
yes,
question. Just I'll feed you as we go
yes.
along. So about child and parent ASIN, if the main search terms are very broad in intent and I don't have much existing data, how can I choose which of the five ASINs of different colors to display in the campaign? From Paolo.
That is a fantastic question. So here's the way we think about it. For any non-variation specific searches, meaning it doesn't mention color, it doesn't mention size, it doesn't mention whatever, we will either advertise the best sellers if we have the data to do so, or if we don't have the data, I'm going to take my five ASINs, I'm going to put them in that campaign in that ad group. And then you do want to go back and evaluate. And it's very easy to evaluate because you're looking at all the products in the ad group and you're saying, okay, well, this one you're treating it like a keyword. Think of it like treating, I got a ton of clicks here. Oh, well, I have 20 clicks on this product and it hasn't converted, but I have 5 clicks on this other product and wow, it already has a conversion. Okay. So I'm getting it once I have enough clicks in that ad group to understand that, hey, this product does not convert, then I'm going to pause it. So that's what I do if I don't have data. If I do have data, I'm like, you know what? I don't know which one they're going to be most interested in. So I'm just going to put my best foot forward and meaning like best product forward. Cool. But that was a great clarifying question. I appreciate the question. Yes. So can you explain why you don't care about top of search? I thought each placement was a different auction. I will answer that one because that is relevant. Good question. Top of search is valuable and also overhyped. That's going to sound very controversial in my space. The the goal, how ads lead to ranking is you drive a crap ton of volume as much as you possibly can through a specific shopper search. And then if you are driving greater volumes over an extended period of time, be it from ads, be it from organic ranking on one specific search page, you will move up in the rank. That's how it works. So that crap ton of volume it can come from lower down on the page. If people are searching to page, if every single shopper on that search is going to page 5 and finding your product and converting, you'll actually move up in ranking like a lot. So page 5 can be valuable, page 2, and I'm not saying that you do want to have enough impressions you're showing on page 1. The value of top of search is that every single shopper who is typing in that search sees it. That's the value. So if I need to push top of search because that's where all of the impressions are and like nobody's scrolling down on that search page, albeit I need to pay for top of search. So the higher up you show in search, the more people see your ad. So that's the only value. It's not like there's some magical mystical thing that happens when you show up top of search. Again, top of search is insanely valuable because of the volume of eyeballs that it drives. It is so overhyped because if I can show up, because the thing is that top of search is heck a ton more expensive. Supplements, forget about it. You're probably paying $15 a click on top of search, maybe more in some markets. It's bonkers. I've seen $80 a click top of search on like some really broad keywords. It's insane. So like if I can't pay that, does that mean I can't rank on that keyword? No. I can still get eyeballs and slowly work my way up through rest of search maybe even page two sometimes. It's so relative depending on the search because every individual search is has different consumer behaviors. So yeah, so Kimberly's saying like my niche is subjective, so lots of scroll, so I don't use top of search. So that's what I'm saying. Like if all of my goal is to just like I want to make sure people are seeing the ad, I can just say, hey, I'm just gonna go off impressions, and then that allows you to like you're still pushing things to be aggressive, but you don't have to over push. Once I know that I'm getting the impressions, and I can say, okay, are those impressions leading to clicks, and then are they leading to orders? And that's kind of how we're going to be evaluating it. And then once I know that they're leading to orders, then I can start doing stuff like this. I'm going to increase my budget strategically. Maybe I start looking at top of search placements to see like, oh, do I get better conversions? And then we start tweaking because our goal in that first round of evaluations is just to be like, which one of these converts? Where do I even get orders? Because again, to drive ranking, I need to generate a crap ton of orders. If I drive a crap ton of clicks and nobody's ordering, well, I can't keep doing that. That's not going to help my rankings at all. Hopefully that makes sense. So once you know which ones do convert, again, remember our budgets are capped. So most likely these budgets are running out, by the way. But once you do evaluate where that funnel leads and where you are getting those orders, then you start gradually increasing the budget. So we're not going to be so aggressive with the bids because we already know where we get impressions. We already know where we drive orders. Now we're going to start uncapping the budgets to release the amount of clicks and eyeballs that we're getting and just slowly pushing out our ads to run throughout the day. So now we're going to gradually raise budgets in the form of $5 to $20 increments for converting campaigns. I'm not a huge fan of dramatic increases to allow you to maintain some form of cost control. So you can see here, like some of our budget is like $750 a day, $300 a day. We in our agency have found, by the way, everyone is afraid of budgets as a spend lever. We are getting some insane results in terms of total ACoS control, leveraging capping campaign budgets. It's more advanced, but trust me, it's like the results that my team are getting by not being afraid to allow budgets to run out. Trust me, it's a game freaking changer. So don't be afraid of it. But when things make sense to increase them. All right. Now we'll talk about scaling campaigns. So from here, you should have like out of your 10, you're like, all right, I have my 3 keywords that convert. I have my 8 keywords that convert. Like I know where I'm doubling down on. I know where I'm pushing on for rank. And then everyone's like, all right, what's next? Do I just like keep my exact, people get confused. They're like, do I just keep single keyword exact match campaigns? Can I launch more campaigns? What do you think about the other ad types? So from here, now that you know what converts, you can start. Now, these are recommended scaling campaigns. You can use other campaigns out there because here, again, you're already focused. You already have your ranking campaigns built out, and then you start to build everything else out underneath it. So I'm going to talk about product targeting campaigns. These can actually be helpful with ranking. I'm going to talk about broad match campaigns to help capture long tail. We'll talk about low bid auto campaigns. You can use phrase match campaigns. You could start with more like category targeting. From here, again, you're just kind of looking at your current account. What am I missing? Where's there opportunities? And then launching campaigns for that. But here's are some that we recommend. So product targeting campaigns. These actually will have impact on organic ranking. Now, these, if and of themselves, if you only ran this, it's not going to be enough to rank on keywords, but it is additive to your existing keyword ranking strategies. So again, out of all of those keywords that we've identified that worked, so again, if we have 3, if we have 8, if we have 5, whatever that number is, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Amazon in an incognito window. I'm going to search that, I'm going to search on that keyword and I'm going to grab the top 1 to 5 organically ranked competitors and I'm going to target these in a sponsored product exact match product targeting campaign. So an example here, if muslin swaddle blanket is a converting target, I'm searching 1. Again, I'm not grabbing the sponsored. I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, throwing those into a campaign. Another one that we're doing is we're using broad match campaigns. So we're launching again our validated keywords. So if we found 3, 5, 8, whatever the case may be, I'm launching these we found that single keyword broad match campaigns work really low. Now here we do set an initial low bid. Low bid is relative, by the way. It's about 50% of your average cost per click in your account, or maybe slightly higher than that. We do use like using dynamic down bids only here. And then again, we're setting low bids here to have some cost control, but we found that this is a really great methodology for getting long tail variations of those searches. And also, I'm a huge fan of low bid auto campaigns, so we like launching these. Again, low bid is relative to the account. Supplements, low bid might be $1. In other accounts, low bids might be 25 cents. So it's relative to whatever the average cost per clicks are in your specific market. Here we just do one low bid auto campaign. I know some people are like, hey, let's split them out. Let's not. There's 20 different ways you can slice and dice an auto campaign. I would say value in splitting them out when you're just doing low bid and it's trying to scrape profitable searches. You might as well just run one campaign. I don't think there's much value in splitting them out unless you plan to get a little bit more aggressive and do some more like strategically advanced things. So those are the other campaigns. Some people are asking, I don't know if there's any other relevant questions to what we're going over. I'll recap everyone's at the end. I did want to give you a bonus troubleshooting though, because to be honest, not everything always goes according to plan. This will work 75% of the time, but you're always going to have that additional 25% where you're like, Liz, I ran your methodologies. I tried it. Not a single keyword converted for me. What the heck? All right. So let's talk about troubleshooting. We're going to address low click-through rate, fixing low conversion rates, and market misalignment. These are the 3 things that in my experience are typically the stuff that's going wrong. So I want to give you some insights here. So this problem is like, I'm getting a ton of impressions, but I'm not getting a lot of clicks. What the heck? So you can look at your click-through rate. Now, I'm not a huge fan of like only optimizing for click-through rate because I think that can lead to making poor decisions, but click-through rate is a signal if things are working. So if your click-through rate, if you're showing up, pretty decently high in search is below a 0.5, that signals that you have very, very low appeal in the search results. And that's typically a listing thing or an offer thing. So think about where are you showing up and what is the shopper seeing in search? They're looking at your price point. They're looking at your reviews. So that is a factor as well. Your main image. Again, did you price your product a little bit too high for what the market allows? Did you not quite get your main image right? Again, you want to look at all of those things. They're also going to see your title. So are you accurately describing your product? So you don't always get it right on launch. Oftentimes there's some recalibrations that need to happen. A lot of times, again, kind of like starting vision budgets. Sellers are like, oh, I have to get it absolutely right from day one. Do your best and then look at the data and recalibrate based on the feedback. Another thing is conversion rate. So again, I'm getting a ton of impressions, I'm getting a ton of clicks, and then nobody is converting. What the heck? So here you want to look at your listing. So there we're looking at our listing based on like, hey, what is showing up in search, meaning our offer. But if you are getting a ton of clicks, you are getting traffic to the listing, but then that traffic isn't converting. So here you want to improve things like your listing content, your image stack. By the way, pro tip, if you have a value proposition of your product and the only place you have mentioned it is in your bullets, you need to fix your image stack. All of your value propositions should be clearly displayed in your image stack. Don't make people read and dig for information. So again, look at that. Make sure your high quality images, better descriptions, clearer benefits. Again, ensure that your product fulfills the keyword's intent. Relevancy is key here. I can't tell you how many times someone's like, hey, I'm trying to rank on swaddle blanket. And they go and search on Amazon. I'm like, well, that's why nobody's purchasing because everybody's looking for these Velcro wraps. Swaddling babies is a skill that is difficult to learn. I know I've done it quite a few times. So, and then the other thing is market misalignment. There are some times where, again, you think that you've gotten it right, and then you go back and search. And so if nothing's converting, just go and search the keywords, make sure you've chosen them correctly. And then there are some times where you're like, man, I feel like I did everything correctly and it didn't really work. Sometimes you can test broader or slightly different terms. There are certain products where when they show up against direct one-to-one competitors, they don't really do well. But if they show up in a search where they're the only variation that's kind of comes about it from a different way, sometimes that can work. So you can branch out. That's kind of the exception to the rule. It's not as common, but that does happen sometimes. Or you can test if you're like, I cannot freaking get exact match to work at all, sometimes you can test phrase match. And there's question from Kimberly on, do match types matter for ranking? So I'll touch on why I said phrase match at the end. But really, I would say the focus is definitely on relevancy. So it all hinges on the proper targeting. So I would say if you had to get one thing right in this whole thing, I would say really dig into the keywords and what you're targeting initially. And then that will set you up for success. I think we had additional questions, so I'll probably go over those ones as well, unless John, you had anything that popped up on your end.
Well, I wrote down a lot of things. I know that everyone has made many, many notes and taken lots of screenshots. So two questions. I think one that came up several times, which is, can people get the slides from you?
They can, and they can actually do one better than that. So if you go to our website, which is junglr.com, if you go to resources and you click on product launch strategy, the slides are great, and I used to give those away. And then, like, there's a lot of context I've shared in this presentation that you wouldn't have. So you can actually get this in like document form with a whole bunch of explanations and then screenshots of slides. So I'd recommend that.
Awesome. So that's junglr.com. And what about for anyone who's here? Do you have any special things that somebody who's here can get that nobody else can get?
I will, well, nobody else can get. Actually, yes. So go download that document. Inside the document, I do offer what I call and actually let me see if I can pull up the document. I do offer a diagnosis call. So there's a couple ways to get a hold of me. One is if you are kind of interested in what I've talked about, or you have a product launch coming up, or you really want a second opinion on your ad strategy. Like I talked to someone the other day, he's like, "Yeah, I have a team that's doing it, but I just have a feeling that there's just a ton of misses." And I was like, I looked at them like, "Yeah." It's basically a validation of unfortunately all of your fears of what's going on, and like this strategy you're running is not going to get you what you need. Like here's where there's a market misalignment. Feel free to book, you can get a hold of me. I still have some limited time today. But we can do an audit of your ads. We set up a call first. That way I can get into data, hey, what do you need out of your ads? And then we do an audit for that, providing you're kind of qualified. But if you are interested in just having somebody quickly understand your ads and just like a quick call, if you download the product launch strategy in there, there is a link where somebody can hop on what I call like a 15-minute diagnosis call. And we'll just kind of run over good strategies. You can ask questions and kind of get an idea of a little bit more in depth specific to your account and what you're looking to do. Hey, kind of here's what I would recommend.
Perfect. I love it. Any more questions from anyone? One question from David just submitted. What about relaunching a product listing that has fallen in ranking and lost sales? Can you implement the framework as is, or would you make any change? Which changes should you make to the strategy?
That's a fantastic question. So I would say yes, you can run this strategy. The difference is instead of going out and doing keyword research, I would treat my existing data as my keyword research. So the benefit of launching an existing product is you're not flying blind. You already know what converts, you know where it converts. So I would look at my existing account. Bonus points if you already have like an exact match keyword in a campaign that's working really well, and you're like, okay, great, now I just dial up the bids, dial up the budget, kind of go super hard at it. Very similar to this strategy, so you can absolutely run this playbook. I would just say make sure you're not ignoring your existing data in your account.
Hmm, great answer. We have a couple more questions from before. I don't know if we've read through some of these. Wait, what if there are only four or five keywords in a niche that drives 80% of your market sales, and it's $4 to $5 CPC on exact match keywords? What would be the best strategy to improve rankings in such scenario? P.S. I'm testing other placements as well since they offer lower CPC.
There's a good question, and you're not going to like my answer. Because
Burn it
the
down.
the
New
que
business.
question behind this question is how do I rank if there's a keyword, there's a niche that drives like 80% of the sales and be profitable? That's your actual question. Because this playbook works. Like drive pay the $4 to $5 CPCs, which are really, again, it's hard to stomach. It's really hard to stomach. And I've been there and I completely agree with you. So it really is about driving the volumes. But the question is, how do you do it in a way that's sustainable and not just going to hurt the product? And I'm going to tell you, Abdul, like having a very tight cluster of keywords, and that's where all the search volume is concentrated on, is a very difficult category to be in. Sometimes the more competitive categories are actually a little bit easier because if you look at the volumes of long tail search, you're like, oh wow, I can test this and I can test this and I can test this and I can test this. In my playing field, I have so many options. The less options you have, the more difficult something is, and you're in a category where there's less options, unfortunately. So it's like you just gotta play the game. Um, how I would go about trying to play the game in a way that's sustainable is kind of exactly what you're saying is like testing other placements to see if there is a way to get lower CPCs. And then another way to play the game is by capping budgets. Again, this is controversial in a space. Everybody's like, never, ever, ever run out of budgets. Well, what happens when I'm trying to control my CPCs and I'm like, dang, I can only really afford to do $2, but the bids are $4 to $5, and Amazon gives me like 0 impressions the minute that I go down to $2. But like I can't push it, like you rock in a hard place, right? Or the other option is to put that $4 or $5 bids on it and then cap how much you're willing to spend per day. So you can still drive volumes. It's just you're capping how much volume is spent and you're metering that with campaign budgets. That's how we do it. So if you can navigate that and you can figure out what the sweet spot is, okay. So I understand that a $4 to $5 CPC, I'm probably, maybe I don't know what your other margin, conversion rates and stuff are. Maybe you're running it at like an 80% ACoS. You're like, oh crap. Well, I don't have to spend my entire budget on an 80% ACoS campaign. I can say, okay, I'm going to spend allocating 20% of the budget, whatever that, whatever those numbers work out to be to this. And I understand that the ACoS is going to be high, but then I'm going to run everything else at profitability levels and my overall average balance of my spend performance in my account can work out to be okay. Um, that's really the only way to strategically play that game. I'm just gonna let you know. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It's notoriously difficult. It's not easy.
Hmm. Yes. And one more question. Does it matter? Does match type matter for ranking? If you get the sale
Hmm.
on the keyword, no matter which campaign it came from, will help rank. Correct.
This is a fantastic question, and you are 100% correct, Kimberly. In a lot of ways, match type does not matter. Match types matter when it comes to spend control and where I'm pushing to be more aggressive. Because an example is like if I have an exact match single keyword campaign, 100% of that budget is going to that one specific keyword and search. And whatever I increase on that bid is only going to be increased on that one specific search. So I can know, hey, I'm going to dial up these bids, I'm going to dial up these budgets to try and drive volume. And I'm 100% confident that the volume that I'm driving is exactly where I want to drive it. You can still get the same thing, right? You can still get volume out of phrase match. You can get volumes out of auto campaigns. But when I dial up those bids and I dial up the budgets on, say, an automatic campaign, where I'm driving that volume is like to the whims and wishes of the algorithm, which doesn't always put it where I want it to go. And so for that reason, that is the reason why everyone's like, oh, exact match specifically for ranking. It's because I can be 100% certain where I'm dialing up the volume on. And that's actually why, like, there are certain times where like, you're like, dang it, for whatever reason, be it an algorithm thing, be it a market thing, like I can't seem to get any of my exact match to convert. And so you heard me mention like, hey, maybe test phrase match because that one's still more specific than the broad or an auto or anything else. It's not going to be as specific. So when I'm dialing up volumes, I need to be careful about where that volume is coming from. But it's a little bit more specific. So there are ways you can play the game, but you're 100% correct, right? Like I could be getting the same volume through an auto campaign and it would still rank me. It's just my control over that continuously happening is like so slim and the whims and wishes of the algorithm. If like something new pops up, all of a sudden I stop being served and I'm like, crap, I'm
Hmm.
screwed. And I have to scramble to build an exact match campaign. So I would prefer to just build it from the beginning.
Hmm. Thank you, Elizabeth. Another one came up. So, Serge says, how do you optimize a keyword bid if you have a high ACOS on it, but its current bid is already lower than the average CPC? You have bids down only and no placement modifiers.
Where is
The
that
latest
one?
one at the very bottom.
Got it. Let me, how do you optimize QA? You would want to look at shorter date ranges. And my question would be, what's the goal? What's the goal of the campaign? Is my goal ranking? In that case, I'm going to be very careful with lowering the average CPC, and maybe sometimes I'm tolerating higher A costs on those things because again, I have an end game. So you have to get money for the business from somewhere. Be it in your initial purchase, it's profitable. Be it eventually I'm getting organic sales and then those organic sales drive profitability. You still have to think of what is the return going to be from the business? And unfortunately, sometimes when you are like, oh, I need my return right now, you sacrifice that long-term return for the business for a short-term return for the business. Now, sometimes that is a decision that you need to make. But if I'm looking at my exact match ranking campaigns, I just say, oh, A cost is high. Okay. But my total sales are growing. My total A cost is okay. So I'm not losing money in terms of like my overall profitability for the account. And I'm noticing that, you know what, me running this campaign is directly impactful because I'm watching my keyword rankings and I'm noticing that I'm climbing up in search. I might take that short-term sacrifice on just that one campaign conversion because I know that my end game of organic ranking, lowering total A costs, all of those other things are in line. So I'm playing the long-term game. I would caution any seller, any advertiser, be really strategic. And at the very least, if you are sacrificing long term for short term gains, you go into it with eyes wide open because that's where most new advertisers and new sellers get it wrong is they continuously optimize for immediate like short term gains and then all of a sudden they wake up like 6 months now and they're like, oh my gosh, I have no rankings, 100% of my sales are still coming from advertising, I can't grow this. I can't get profitability. I can't. So you want to have campaigns that allow you to play a long-term game. Those are your ranking campaigns. And then you still want to have those campaigns that allow you to play the short-term game. So low A costs. And if you have those two things in the account, then you will have balance. If you only have one, again, if you're only doing long-term game, you're probably going to be overspending and you're going to be sacrificing a lot of those profitable sales. But if all you're looking for is profitable sales, you're sacrificing your long-term game. So I would say look at that. So if the goal, I mean, if the goal is to reduce A cost on the target, look at what happened in a shorter date range. Is your current bid already lower than your average CPC? Like, have you already lowered it? Sometimes if you look at short-term date ranges, then you're like, oh, wow, I'm not getting any impressions. Um, so you can look at that. And then there was one other one, I think. Someone was asking about the 0.5% click-through rate target is for ads in order to get it right. Correct. Yeah, so that's for advertising. Hmm. Someone in chat is asking about, here's a notorious difficult one. Low conversion rate, high price products. Yeah, so I would say in low conversion rate, high price products, the one thing that we found is you want to look at longer date ranges when making evaluations because one day you have 10% ACoS, the next day it's like 50%, and then the next day it's down to 5. It's like the bouncing of performance is like insane. So you just look over long time horizons to smooth out those like ups and downs. And focus on relevancy. Focus on relevancy.
Awesome.
Cool.
I think that is all the questions. So, if you haven't already, make sure you go onto that page on the screen that Elizabeth is currently sharing to download the what's it called?
I think we call it like our launch guide.
Launch guide. Awesome. Launch guide. I put the link in the chat. Someone just asked about it, so you can link directly to it there.
Mhm.
Book your call directly with Elizabeth. I can't even speak today. And yeah, have an amazing day, everybody, wherever you are in the world.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. This has been fantastic.
Cool. Yeah. Great engagement, everyone. Thanks everyone for showing up. We had a really good turnout today. And yeah, have an amazing week, everyone. Bye. See you, everyone.
Appreciate it.